Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial on Cinema 4D lights. This is Pete Maric with Triplet 3D. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you the basic functionality of all the lights in Cinema 4D. I just created this really simple scene. I have a floor object and I have a cloner that's just duplicating these cubes that I created. So we'll just use this basic scene to demonstrate the lights. Alright, so the first light that we're going to create is a Omni Light, otherwise known as a point light in other programs. And I'll just turn on some shadows. And just, so the Omni Light, what it's going to do, it's going to spread out light in all directions. Okay, so I can move this over. That'll totally change the look of my shadows. Right now the shadows are pointing to the left over here. In a few minutes I'll get more into the in-depth features of all the lights, but for right now I just want to show you the light types. So here's our spotlight. And what that's going to do is it's just going to give us a little area of light, just like that. If we wanted this to point downward, we would just grab the rotate tool and just rotate this down 90 degrees. Then I would take the move tool, move it up, and right now when I take a render, I'm only seeing this little spot of light. So what I would need to do in order to see these forms is grab my spotlight, and where you see these orange little nodes right here, if you just click and drag these out, that'll increase the cone of your light. You can see more of the square forms that we're using in this scene. Probably just drag this up a little bit. Okay, enable some shadows, some hard shadows, and that's what that looks like. Okay, that's the spotlight. Here's the target light. If you watch the previous tutorial on cameras, this kind of looks like this kind of works like the target camera, where you have a target right here, and this light is always going to point towards this target, right? So if I grab this light and I start moving it around, see, it's always pointing toward that target object, right? So just move this around, move this back up. So here's what that light is doing right now. Same with the with this target light. A few minutes ago I demonstrated the spotlight. If you wanted to make this cone bigger, you just grab these little nodes on the light and just make those bigger. So anywhere you move this light, it's just going to point right towards that target. Okay? Area light. So give you a nice realistic look. Let's just push this up, and I'm going to rotate this down 90 degrees. And let's just enable shadows real quick. Some soft shadows. And that's our area light. Again, if we move this in one of the directions, it's going to affect our shadows a bit differently. If you want to learn about IES lights, check out the link below that I provided for a tutorial by Digital Sandwich. It goes through all the specifics about using this IES light. It's a very good tutorial, so check that out. And these lights come in really handy for architectural visualization work and assigning specific profiles to your lights. And the last light that I want to show you real quick is the infinite light. So what this does is it literally points the lights all in one direction. The way that this works, it's kind of simulates sunlight, where all the light rays are pointing in one direction. So if I take a render of this, you're only going to see one side of this. These cubes are illuminated. So what I'll typically do with this type of light is I'll just take it and rotate it down. Let's just enable some shadows real quick. And then I'll take this and I'll rotate it over, something like that. And then I'll point all of our shadows in one direction. Okay, so that's the infinite light. Okay, now I want to show you some of the specifics about these lights. So I'll just create a new Omni Light, and I'll just push this up a little bit. And I will go down to my attribute manager. So the first thing that you'll notice is there's a color assigned to each light. Right, you control the color right here. So if you just click this, whites, you can assign a different color to this. So I'll just assign like an orangey yellow color, and that's going to change the overall look of our scene, right? So the second thing is enabling shadows. Right here you have a shadow tab. Let's just turn on soft shadows and see what that looks like. Here are soft shadows. You'll notice at the edges all of our shadows are getting soft. So if I change that to hard shadows and take another render, now all of our our shadows are have really hard edges. And there's another tab within every light. It's the shadow tab. If you go in here, you can control the density of your shadow. Let's just take this down to 85%, and you can also control the color. So there's our shadow. And the other shadow type that's really nice is the area shadows. These are going to go, an area shadow is going to give you the most realistic type of shadow. Like it gets really crisp where the shadow starts, and then it kind of gets soft as it fades back. The one thing that you want to kind of keep in mind anytime you're using the area shadows is that it will increase your render time. So if you have a really dense scene with a lot of polygons and a lot of models, your scene is probably going to take a lot longer to render with area shadows. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Alright, so I'll just change these back to soft shadows. The next thing that I wanted to show you is visible light. So right here, this tab, if I just enable visible light, what will end up happening is we will see this light in the renderer. So if you have any kind of scene that uses like a candle light or something like that, you can grab these little nodes. As soon as you enable visible, you'll get these nodes around your light. So if you grab these and just push them down, you can control the size of that visible light. See that? So just increase that. So just play around with these other parameters down here for the visible light. I'll just turn that off for right now. The next thing that I want to show you is the fall off. So right now we don't have any fall off. So let's just grab inverse square fall off, and again we're going to get these handles around our light. And what inverse square is going to do is it's going to be really intense where the light source is, and then it'll kind of fade out to darker and darker on the edges. And you can control that by grabbing these handles on the light, grabbing the little nodes, and increasing them if you want more light to spill out over your forms. Or you can grab them and bring them down in like this. So there's a bunch of options that you can do with this. The other type of fall off, a linear fall off. So right now we don't have anything in our linear fall off. That's because this inner radius is set to 0. So we'll take this outer radius first and foremost. We'll bring that out, and here's the inner radius, and I'll just bring this out as well. So now we're starting to get some light in the scene. So this is the linear fall off. I'll grab the outer radius and decay, and then grab the inner radius and make those a little bit bigger. Now we're getting more light, a little bit more fall off. Okay, the other type of fall off is a step fall off. Same thing, you can control this by just grabbing these little nodes in the light. So right now we're just getting this little dot on the floor here. You can control that like this, and you're going to get a really hard shadow with this type of fall off. So experiment with those. The inverse square, physically accurate, usually looks really good. The next thing that I wanted to show you is adding noise to your light. In certain situations you want to add some noise to give it a little bit more ambience in your scene. So let's just go to our noise tab within our light, and we can, right here where it says noise, let's just say both, and it's going to add this soft turbulence to our light. So I'll just zoom in and show you what that does. So right away we're going to get this like noise coming from our light, and you can control that, the type of turbulence that you're getting. So right now it's set to soft. Let's try hard turbulence. That's going to give us a totally different look. If we go to wavy turbulence, that's again another look. I'll just set it back to hard, and you can control the brightness of this noise right here. So then now the noise is not as dark. It's kind of a nice little feature. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to show you about lights, if we go back into the general tab, initially I showed you all the different types of lights that are in Cinema 4D, but if you create a basic point light or Omni Light, you can also change the type right down here. So right now it's an Omni, but I can easily change it to a spotlight. So now it's a spotlight. Again, I'll have to grab these, grab the spotlight and just rotate it down 90 degrees, and then just make it smaller over here. Make that a little bit bigger. So now it's a spotlight. Pretty cool. There we go. There's a spotlight. And just as easily you could change the spotlight to an infinite light. You could change it to an area light. That's going to give us a slightly different look. So experiment with these as well. So that's the basic rundown of the lights. There's a lot more that goes into creating lights and creating realistic images. So definitely play around with all these different tabs for the lights, but this should get you started on learning about how to use lights in Cinema 4D. This is Maric with Triplet 3D. Hope you enjoyed this lesson, and thanks for watching.